Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the Narrative Off the Cuff with Elite News and Daryl Blair. There's an old saying that says you can kill the messenger, but you can't kill the message. You can kill the messenger, but you can't kill the message. It happened in the old days, in the Roman days, in the days of queendom and kingdom, and in the early days when they tried to kill the narrative by killing the individual bringing the message. Nonetheless, it had permeated somewhere else and it had began to spread like cancer. We're faced with some very difficult days as we tread ahead. I've been paying close attention to the Ahmaud Arbery case by virtue of TV. I've watched, that's national. I've also watched the Kyle Rittenhouse case by virtue of national TV. Additionally, on a local scale, I've watched the Billy Shemirmir case of the murderer, as they call them, serial killer. And they start with their first case, which they felt was the strongest. So let me lean in right quick. The optics are there, the reality is there, and the message is there. In the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, he was acquitted on all 5 counts. But I want you to recognize they set the tone and sent the message that when these protests take place, whoever chooses to be a vigilante, they got a right to go out, engage themselves with a gun with an audience that does not have one, and yet they can take individuals' lives. Bear in mind, the lives of the individuals that he took were all 3, well 2, and one of them being maimed, were Caucasian. And that happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin. That message is being sent that this is how we'll deal with this situation, even if some of our people are collateral damage. Yes. As it relates to the Ahmaud Arbery case, the writing's on the wall in that one, that the groundwork has been laid out so beautifully, so eloquently, and so elementary in one's understanding that the prosecutor tacked him on each and every point that he answered a question. And then she was even nice enough to let him dialogue even further. Rather than giving a yes or no answer, he gave a script on everything that he talked about. And then the yes and no answers are the ones that hung him. So the next move was for the other teams on defense, William Roddy Bryan and his dad. They're asking, well, Roddy Bryan is asking for a deal. A deal? No, we don't give deals. Not this time. We're not going to plead you out. We're going to prosecute you all the way to the fullest. And so this is what's happening. Now when you come home locally, you got Billy Shemirmir. Here's a guy that they got him laid out, and they get out of 12 jurors, they get 1 who's a holdout. What trial were they paying attention to? What optics? What evidence? What testimony? What were they paying attention to? Were they asleep, or are they so docile that they should be deprived of breathing air like you and I? This is sad, and guess what? The victim in that case, Asian, Caucasian, and all along the way, he killed all of them, in my estimation. That's a pattern there. But where Dallas missed on a life sentence, Collin County is going to catch him on a death penalty. They're going after him. They're going to get him. If they have to fly to Kenya to get some optics on how he was raised and what his mindset was as he came up in that country. Pay it a little closer attention. Now, back to the politics. We're sitting here now and we're looking at folks running for office. But we were asked long ago to go and vote. Let's vote and let's put folks in office so the numbers are in our favor. Democrats finally came to agreement up on Capitol Hill with the $1.75 trillion infrastructure bill, which was needed. I couldn't see where anyone would want to fight against it, where some of these cities are struggling and suffering with infrastructure. And so they're going to address that in some states and some cities and some rural areas. I find myself amazed that we're constantly at this point when we got the, we have our hold of a steering wheel and we got our foot on the gas, that We as Democrats, not just African Americans, we as Democrats and Democrats in this country couldn't come together on Capitol Hill to mash the gas and move forward with their plans. We're already still dealing with some gerrymandering and all of the election maps and the district maps as it relates to elections. Some people are being pitted against one another, and then other ones are getting wider swaths of districts and whatnot so that they can better impale themselves in the government as elected officials. And the Republicans have done that. They did that when they had the power. So my encouragement to you is take a page again out of the Republican book. Mash the gas while you got your foot on the pedal. Absolutely. Now, I want to talk to you about what's taking place in our communities. It's rather sad when somebody white is perceived to have killed someone black, that we will run out in the streets and holler Black Lives Matter and all of these mantras and spew all of these statements. And all this black on black crime in our community, nobody's saying nothing. Nobody has a narrative. Nobody's protesting the drug house or the red light dope corner that's in our community, where you would just go there and protest, drive these people out of our community, let them know they're not welcome. They don't have to be white, Hispanic. They can be black. Whatever race that's not yours, you can still go challenge them. And whatever race is yours, you can go challenge them. We have a responsibility to speak to the narrative of the truth. Other than that, we're being complicit in what's happening with us, to us, and around us. There's a responsibility, not just in this community here in Dallas, not just in the state of Texas, but nationwide. In any community that you live in, if you're looking at this, you're hearing this, then I encourage you to take a stand. Don't be complicit in your silence. Don't be so comfortable where you are that you won't take a bit of discomfort to make it more comfortable for the greater good. You know what I always say, when you know better, you do better. You make it better for the greater good. On a brighter note, I want to be able to address some pastors, and I want to talk about the IMA. I want to talk about with Dr. David Wilson. I want to talk about the Baptist Ministers Union of the state of Texas with Dr. Tommy Brown. I also want to talk about the National Missionary Baptist Convention of America with Dr. Anthony E. Sharp, my good friend from Houston Yates, who can't celebrate yet, not at all. I want to commend you guys on what you have done to encourage, to engage, and then to empower not only your members, but your communities. Not just your community where your church is, but the community in the church community, the Christian community, where you've taken it upon yourself to make sure that they're fed, that they're medicated, and that they have some kind of financial resources in terms of tutoring and education. I want to commend each and every one of you for taking another plank out and putting another log on the fire to make sure that our communities are empowered. It's imperative that you do what you are doing and that you continue to do it and that others will come along. That's my encouragement to each and every one of you. That's my encouragement to anyone who chooses to be like you. That's my encouragement. Those are my prayers. And then I also want to thank the Dallas City Council. I want to thank Councilwoman Carolyn King Arnold for her visionary move, for the church's visionary move, my pastor, Reverend Michael Pryor, and our deacon, Gilbert Gerst. He's not a doctor, he's just Gilbert Gerst. I want to give them applause for sustaining a legacy and building on a legacy. Pastor Pryor Way, which crosses right there at Ledbetter and the old Village Way Street, it's now Pastor Pryor. And it goes right into the church parking lot where he feeds souls. So I want to give them kudos and commend them. And I certainly want to commend the matriarch of the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, none other than Sister Alma Pryor, who we just celebrated Founders Day, and I found it to be very enriching and very fulfilling. My heart goes out to you in a good way, Pastor Pryor, and that you're left with a legacy to fulfill and sustain. Much like myself, we came from two different perspectives on achieving that, but I'm certainly grateful that my father gave me the opportunity to sustain a legacy and put another brick in the foundation, much like what you're doing, but you're building a whole new building on the foundation of Pastor George Wayne Pryor. I want to thank you. Now, as we come to a close, I want to remind you that February 25th, that's a Friday night, 7 p.m., Carver Heights Missionary Baptist Church, we're going to have the 48th Annual Elite News Awards night. Absolutely. For 48 years, we've awarded and recognized and applauded and encouraged unsung heroes in our community, people whose shoulders we stand on. When you look across the spectrum of our community and all of the tentacles from medical to banking to legal, you go down the line, education, you go down the line, entrepreneurship. We want to be able to celebrate those individuals. So you start looking on Elite News Dallas and or DFW Elite News on our Facebook page, and or you just look in the Elite News in itself, that we're going to celebrate these people on February 25th, and we want you to applaud them. If you can't make it, chime in on Facebook, send an email, something of a congratulatory measure to recognize these individuals for their outstanding and stellar work. Then, I want you to get ready. Woo! Nappy head. Get ready. I want you to get ready for the second annual Juneteenth Festival and Celebration. It's going to be a wonderful time. We're in the planning stages now. Folks are coming aboard. We got sponsors and vendors, and the vendors will be limited for the outside. So if you choose to be a part of those outside vendors, which consist mostly of food and beverage, you better come on, get aboard. Then we have the Inside Expo, the Beauty, Health, and Wellness Expo, brought to you by Black Alzheimer's Brain Study, HSC, University of North Texas, and Pat Bailey. Also brought to you by Luster Pink. And we have a stellar lineup this year for the free stage outside. We start with a march that morning at 10 a.m. straight down MLK this time. We won't come from William Blair Park, but we'll give you those logistics later. I just want you to be encouraged, be informed, and be on the ready for the Juneteenth Festival, celebration, and march. Now, I want to thank a few people that I was remiss in missing last week, but I certainly will catch this week. I want to take the opportunity to thank you, 1-800-OLD-SCHOOL-LAWYER. You know who you are. Thank you. We want to thank you, Sherman Roberts over at Citywide Development Corporation. Thank you so much for your undying support. I want to take the opportunity to thank Anthony Farmer over at Farmer Law Group. Thank you so much for your support. We want to take the opportunity to thank Pat Bailey at the Alzheimer's Brain Study, Black Brain Study. She has done a diligent work in our community, and she continues to. We want to thank her. We want to thank each and every one of you for your attentiveness, for your good stewardship in paying attention, following, and responding to the narrative off the cuff. And so until next time, you know what I bid you to do? Get it on your mind. God bless and God keep is my prayer.